So adding fractions is a very useful skill that you use oftentimes in a lot of different capacities. And there's a couple different ways to get to adding fractions. So let's look at some examples. Let's start with like fractions. Like fractions are when they are already alike. The denominators are the same. So that would be, for example, something like 2/6 plus 3/6. Alright, so we see that they are alike. The denominators are the same. So all we need to do now is add those pieces together. So if I had 2 pieces here and 3 here, that means I would have 5 altogether. But the denominator doesn't change. They're still sixth pieces. They don't suddenly become twelfths. The denominator will stay the same. I have to look at that and ask, can I rename that? Is that improper? No. Can I simplify that? No. 5 and 6 don't share any common factors other than 1. So 5/6 is my answer. Another example. So here we have twelfths. I'm going to add the numerators. 3 plus 3 is 6. The twelfths stay the same. But I see 6/12ths, I can simplify that. And if you've seen the video before on simplifying, I know I'm going to use the greatest common factor of those numbers to try to simplify it. So the factors of 6 and the factors of 12 show that the greatest common factor is 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So 1/2 is the simplified fraction. The next type of fraction that you're going to run into are called unlike fractions. And unlike are just what it sounds like. They have unlike denominators. They're different. So you might see 1/2 plus 3/4. So halves and fourths, those are different types of pieces. Those look different when I see them, they're different sizes. So by looking at the fraction bars at the side, you see that 1/2 piece is a different size than a fourth piece. They're just not the same. So let's make these all the same size pieces. It will help me decide how many pieces I actually have. How much do I actually have? So in order to do that, I'm going to need to find what's called a common denominator. Well, I've got 2 and I've got 4. I know they seem connected. What I'm going to want to look for is what is that least common multiple that they share. So you can do this really easily by using a multiplication chart if you have one nearby, or you can simply write them out depending on what tools you have available. So the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, blah, 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 forever and ever. The multiples of 4, 4, 8, 16, 20, blah, 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 forever and ever. And I see that I have some common multiples. The least common multiple is 4. So what that tells me is I'm going to turn both of these pieces into fourths. Well, the good news is one of them is already a fourth. So I don't need to touch that fraction at all. That's going to stay exactly the same. But let's make an equivalent fraction out of 1/2. So how do I get 1/2 into a fourth? Well, mathematically, I have to multiply it by 2. And what I do on the bottom, I'm going to need to do on the top. So now, instead of 1/2, I have 2/4. It's the same amount, it's just represented a different way. I've cut that half up into fourths. Now let's add that to the 3/4 I already had. See, that didn't change. And look, fourths and fourths. So when I put them together, I see that I have 5/4. Now this is a unique answer because, as you notice, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I'm going to have to rename this fraction. If you've seen my other videos on converting improper to mixed numbers, you remember that I could do this using division. So 4 goes into 5 one whole time. I have 1 left over, and that piece was a fourth. So my answer is 1 1/4. I can't simplify that anymore. That's as basic as it's going to get. Alright, so let's take a look at another example. I have 12/16 and 6/8. So I need to find that least common multiple of 16 and 8. Okay, well, the multiples of 16, 32, blah, blah, blah. The multiples of 8, 16. Oh, wait a minute. What's that you say? Ah, there it is. I don't have to go very far for this one. So I know the least common multiple of 16 and 8 is 16. So I need to create fractions which have 16 as the denominator. Good news. That's already a 16th. Do not touch the fraction. It's already a 16th. Don't mess with it. Let's worry about creating an equivalent fraction from 6/8. So I just have to ask myself, okay, well, 8 times what will give me that 16th? And I know that that is 2. So what I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. It changes both pieces. So my equivalent fraction is 12/16. Now I'm not done because I haven't actually added them together yet. So let's put our two fractions together. 12 plus 12 is 24. There's 16ths. And I see that once again, I have an improper fraction. So I need to make some conversions here, right? Let's turn it to a mixed number. So 16 can go into 24 one whole time. And how many will I have left over? I'm going to have 8/16 left over. Wait, 8 and 16, those are connected. You're absolutely right. I can simplify this. So 1 and 8/16 can be divided down into a simpler fraction. If I divide both fractional parts by 8, that simplifies my fraction to 1 and 1/2. Alright, so what happens if I have, unlike fractions, for instance, 2/3 and 1/2? I'm going to follow the same process. I want to find the least common multiple. So if you have a multiplication chart, you know your facts really well, or you can write them out. The multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, blah, 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 forever and ever, they continue. Multiples of 2, 4, 6, 8, forever and ever and ever. And I see that the least common, the smallest that they share in common, is 6. So what this tells me is I need to take 2/3 and 1/2, and I need to create equivalent fractions and turn them both into 6ths. So let's start with 2/3. What do I have to multiply by to get to 6? 3 times what equals 6? Well, that's 2. So what I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. So that becomes 4/6. Now let's go over to 1/2. What do I need to multiply 2 by to get to 6? And I know that it's 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. So now I have 4/6 and 3/6. Let's put them together. So 4 plus 3 is 7. The 6th stay the same. There are 6 pieces. And I see that I have an improper fraction. So I'm going to need to rename that, convert that to a mixed number. 6 goes into 7 one whole time. I'm going to have 1 piece left over, and it's a 6th. So 1 1/6 is my final answer. Alright, so do me a favor, and let's try doing some of these on your own. Take a moment, pause the video, and copy these problems down, and try to add them. Remember, we have to get a common denominator first. Alright, so hopefully when you looked at number 1, you looked at 14 and 7, and you listed your multiples of 14, your multiples of 7, and you realized that the least common multiple of the two is 14. So the good news is 9/14, I don't have to do anything to. It's already a 14. So now I just have to convert this fraction. So 7 times 2 is 14, so I should have done the same at the top. We should have gotten 8/14. Now I'm not done yet. Now I actually have to put the two together. So 9 plus 8 is 17. The 14 remains the same. They're 14ths. And that's an improper fraction. So I need to convert that. 14 goes into 17 one whole time. And I'm going to have 3 pieces left over. And they are 14ths. I cannot simplify that. 3 and 14 don't share any other factors other than 1. So that's my final answer. Now looking at number 2 is more challenging because I'm not changing just one fraction, I did have to change both. I had halves and sevenths, and when I listed out my multiples, I noticed that the least common multiple of 2 and 7 was 14. So I needed to make equivalent fractions for the 14ths. So let's start with 1/2. So when I have 1/2, I know 2 times 7 is 14. So I need to do the same to my numerator. So my 1/2 is no longer 1/2. It's now 7/14. Over here, 7 times 2 is 14. So do the same on the top. So I no longer have 5/7, I have 10/14. Now I'm ready to put them all together since they have a common denominator. 17/14. This is sounding familiar. Alright, that's an improper fraction. So we should have seen that 14 went into 17 one whole time. 3 left over. So 1 3/14.